ordinarily on this Wednesday Roundtable edition, we hit somewhere between 5 and 10 topics in the first segment. We're going to hit one today, guys, because, we had 8 games last night, and all anyone in the hockey world is talking about is something that did, or to be more accurate, didn't happen before one of those games. So let me set the scene in case you are living under a rock right now. Last night in Philadelphia was Pride Night. During the warm-up, the players were wearing Pride-themed jerseys. Those jerseys were going to be auctioned off for charity. We've seen it before. One of the members of the Philadelphia Flyers, Ivan Provorov, said he did not want to wear the jersey. In fact, he didn't even take part in warm-up. Said it was because of his religious beliefs. He is Russian Orthodox. I'm going to read you the exact quote. He said, quote, "I respect everyone's choices. My choice is to stay true to myself in my religion. That's all I'm going to say." John Tortorella, the head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers, said he stood by him for sticking with his beliefs, did not want to bench him. And he obviously played in the game. Now we're going to bring on Charlie O'Connor in just a second, who of course covers the team on a regular basis for The Athletic. While we do that, and we're going to kind of hit this from every angle, guys, but your initial thoughts when you started seeing this story, and obviously the Twitter world went a little crazy and the hockey world went a little crazy on it. Your initial thoughts on this. Jesse, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think my initial thought was what everyone thought was shock that he wouldn't go out for warm-ups. I think that it's a tough balance between religious beliefs and supporting a cause, and how, what support are you actually giving by wearing a jersey out there? It's put the Flyers in a tough situation because of the religious beliefs. I'm not going to pretend to know law well enough to know whether or not they could bench him for something that he claims is religious beliefs, but I disagree with him not wearing the jersey, him not taking warm-ups. I think that it's the least you can do to support an initiative that the team and the league is doing. But like I said, I think they should have benched him, but also I'm not in the position to make that call, and I don't know if the people that were in the position to make that call knew the legality behind it. So I guess that those were my thoughts initial. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I was one of those people that was living under a rock last night. I was covering a game in Washington and, saw Charlie's tweets and, that Provorov wasn't in warm-ups, but there was not one part of me that was looking at the context and things like that. I just figured he was hurt or something. And then obviously after the game, I caught up pretty quickly and also was shocked. And the first thing I did was try to refresh my memory in last year's Pride Night that the Wild have had. They're not having one until March. And I really quickly looked because I know that Kaprizov and Kulikov are also Russian Orthodox, and I wanted to make sure that that I somehow didn't miss the fact that they weren't wearing their Pride jerseys, and they were. I talked to my colleague Joe Smith today, and he said that Vasilevsky always wears the ones with the lightning. It was interesting because it was Pride Night in Washington yesterday, but they didn't wear Pride jerseys during warmups. They had the sticks, and some of them had the rainbow tape and things like that. It's hard for me to really comprehend what Provorov is thinking for myriad reasons, based on religion and things like that. Part of me just doesn't understand why for 10 minutes you can't just put on a jersey for a good cause that's going to be auctioned off. I don't understand how that would have changed his life for any of the worse. I just don't get it. So it's hard for me from that standpoint. I agree with you. I think the Flyers were in a tough spot. I think Charlie's going to talk about this in a little while, but it sounds like they found out right before warm-ups. So I think that it was a real quick try to figure out, can they even play him? What are the legalities of that if they suddenly say you're not? The thing I was a little surprised is I just thought that Torts was just not eloquent at all. And, I just think in 4 hours, there could have been a better statement that he could give rather than I respect Provi because he's being true to himself. It's not what you say in that situation. So tough situation all around. And it's going to be interesting what the ripple effect is now, because as Charlie, I'm sure, is going to talk about him, this is somebody that's been rumored to be on the trading block for a while. And now it's going to be a PR nightmare.
Well, let's bring Charlie in. Charlie O'Connor, who, of course, covers the team for The Athletic. Thanks for jumping on, man. Paint us a picture of what was going on last night. As Russo kind of alluded to there, this was quite last minute, and I'm sure the Flyers were scrambling. I'm sure reporters were scrambling. I'm sure it was a big scramble last night, wasn't it?
Yeah. This really did hit kind of out of nowhere with regards to warmups. As Mike said, this is a situation where he didn't show up for warmups. He wasn't out there. Justin Braun skated in his place, but you could kind of tell there was something up because Justin Braun is not a top pair defenseman. When they ran lines and pairs, he was on the top pair on the left side with Cam York, which presumably if Provorov had gotten hurt in, pregame stretches or lifting or whatever, that Justin Braun would not be the one to be sliding right into his place. So it screamed that he was something of a stand-in. And, Provorov, there's been reports, I've reported this multiple times, that he's not the most popular player in the locker room. There is a divide there that's going back years. And this is a situation where, Flyers players, particularly Scott Laughton and James Van Riemsdyk, who kind of spearheaded this, really do care about LGBTQ plus initiatives and really, have kind of tried to spearhead this. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of the tension that has been building up over these last couple of years, has been, Provorov's unwillingness to participate in these initiatives. I know in the past, the Flyers had done Pride Nights before. They had never worn jerseys. They had done the Pride tape thing on the stick. Provorov had never used it. But I know in this particular situation, Flyers players with, Laughton and JVR kind of leading the way, wanted to do something more. They wanted to wear jerseys, and they wanted to do it in a unified group to show support for that community. And Provorov clearly had no interest in being part of that unified show of support.
And that's one of the things that jumped out to me, because the way I see a lot of these Pride Nights, I don't think NHL teams or even the league are trying to solve homophobia in one warm-up skate. I think what they're trying to do is say members of the LGBTQ plus community are welcome here in our game. And we've seen it with the if you can play campaign. And that just leads me to say, well, what does Provorov think then? Does Provorov not believe that gays should be playing in the NHL? If that's true, well, that's a problem. Is Provorov saying to one of his teammates who maybe is gay, I won't do the bare minimum for you. I won't put a jersey on in warm-up for you. And I'm not trying to make this a hockey discussion of what it's going to happen, what's going to happen with the team, but you alluded to it there, Charlie. This is going to be something we continue to talk about, because the locker room is everything. And if it's a divided locker room because of an issue like this, who knows where it could go?
Yeah. And I think, to be clear, I don't think that I do believe that Ivan Provorov's name has come up in trade conversations, particularly over the last few months. I think both sides have kind of come to the conclusion that a change of scenery might be best. I don't believe that's because of this, but I do think that, as you said, a divided locker room can be a problem. And Provorov has, clashed with teammates in the past, not necessarily over this particular issue, but over other things. And this isn't helping. It isn't helping when every single other player on the team wears a jersey before warm-up and Ivan Provorov doesn't do it. I think what's frustrating for me as an outsider in this is that the whole reason why a gesture like this is meaningful to the LGBTQ plus community is because everyone on the team does it. It's that show of solidarity. It's that message that's being sent that we're all on your side. We all support you. It's the same reason why the whole team during warm-ups wears Hockey Fights Cancer style jerseys. It's the same reason why the whole team during warm-ups wears, Military Appreciation Day style jerseys. It's the same reason why when Claude Giroux was going in his 1000th game, which everyone knew was going to be his final game as a Flyer, everyone wore number 28 jerseys in warm-ups. It's that message that, we've got your back. And by one player on the team not going out there, it sends the message that not the whole team has that community's back. And that's got to really hurt people in that community.
Charlie, you mentioned that he could be on the trade block. Do you think this changes that? I mean, if you're a prospective GM out there thinking about trading for this guy, you already hear the problems that he's having with players in the locker room, which to me, that's already a red flag. Maybe I don't want to trade for this player. But now you lump this on top of it and the PR that comes along with it. You think Chuck Fletcher's sitting there wondering how he's going to trade this guy now?
I feel like that's a question that's probably better served for the other GMs in hockey, because I don't know. I don't know if this would be enough to, dissuade another GM from wanting to acquire Ivan Provorov. I can say that it can't help.
Right.
I mean, in the end, general managers, hockey organizations, hockey ownership groups, they don't like distractions. And now, because of this, Ivan Provorov has pretty much guaranteed that on any team that acquires him, it's going to come up. He's going to be asked about this. And yeah, there very well might be some GMs that just don't want to be bothered with having to deal with that kind of situation. And sure, this probably does make Chuck Fletcher's job more difficult if the plan was to try to find him a change of scenery. But we'll see how it plays out. Maybe there's GMs that don't think it's a big deal. Maybe there's GMs that would view this as a way to buy low on him. I don't know. It's probably a question better served for other GMs.
Yeah, it might be that. Might be the latter. That is the way that they sometimes think. But as you mentioned, it's not even just the distraction in the locker room, Charlie. It's the PR nightmare of a team that wants to support their the community. Adding somebody like this to a locker room, it's just going to be the immediate story that you write about, and it's just going to have a bad look, especially this close to it. What can you kind of paint the scene last night? Like, is it your reporting that essentially this was not something that they had all day to prepare for, that they didn't find out at the morning skate that he wasn't going to wear this jersey, that it was really right before warmups, and that, I know a lot of people are quick to just rip on the Flyers and letting them play, and their, maybe their statement that they put out and things like this, but it had to be just a frantic, chaotic situation for them, right? If they found out right before warmups.
Yeah, that's my understanding based on the people I've talked to close to the situation. I know for a fact that the ownership group was blindsided, that they did not know that this was coming. I think it's theoretically possible that there were some people in and around the team that maybe were aware that Provorov was going to do this, but I don't think it was everyone, and I certainly don't get the sense it was anyone who would have had the power to make a decision based on whether Provorov should play or not. So yeah, I think generally people that would have had that power found out about this pretty late in the going. And then, look, we've been around locker rooms. It's pretty chaotic in that lead up to game time. The half an hour, 45 minutes before, everybody's getting ready. Everybody has their routines and whatnot. And then suddenly, everybody finds out kind of haphazardly that a player is kind of taking the stand and isn't willing to go out for warmups. Yeah, it's a tough situation. And I'm not here to, defend the way the Flyers did it, but I will say that, yeah, this definitely blindsided the team from what I've been told by sources. This was not something where they knew days in advance or even a day in advance and were able to make the decision that, no, we're going to stand behind our player and we're going to allow him to play. This was a very fast moving situation.
That being said, Charlie, something that Mike alluded to earlier, John Tortorella, we spent last week's show kind of ripping on Torts a bit, and I think we're going to continue doing it here. But I don't know about you guys. When I saw him say, "Oh no, I had no intentions of benching him because he's sticking by his beliefs," I immediately thought, "Isn't this the same guy who said he'd nail anybody to the bench if they decided not to stand during the national anthem?" I wasn't the only one who thought that. Twitter kind of thought that as well, but. You deal with that guy on a regular basis. Are we going to get the I don't want to talk about this anymore Torts over the next couple of days?
I mean, he'll certainly be asked about it again. I can't tell you one way or the other whether he's going to basically say, I've said all that needs to be said. I'm done with it. I will defend Torts a little bit with regards to the kneeling controversy, because while he did absolutely say that and it was a big deal, he did a few years later backtrack and say that kind of he's changed his opinion on that. So while it doesn't change the fact that it's something to say on Twitter, I will say that I don't think he would make those same statements again today. That said, yeah, the statements did not come off great, to be sure. He did say in the lead up that basically he supports initiatives like Pride Night. He thought it was a great night. So I don't think that he's opposed to what the Flyers organization was trying to do on this night. But yeah, it didn't come off as the most, I guess, for lack of a better term, sensitive to those who were hurt by this.
Interesting night that I think we're going to be talking about this is not going to go away. And Charlie, thanks for just jumping on. I know we called you last minute, but your reporting was great last night. We'll probably get you on again when this thing continues to play out. Thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah. And make sure everybody reads Charlie's piece. He's got an opinion piece that's about to pop on The Athletic that's, I know, really well done. I'm in a channel right now on our Slack channel where all the editors are talking about how good it is. So well done, Charlie. Can't wait to read it.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having me.
Charlie O'Connor, who covers the Philadelphia Flyers for The Athletic.